The Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, all head to Martinsville Speedway this weekend. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Here we go. There's 2 races to go. We got Xfinity, we got the Cup Series, all heading Martinsville this weekend. We got Homestead now in the rear view, and it is going to be I believe, a drama-filled weekend with Xfinity and the Cup Series all battling for those final 4 playoff spots to determine who goes and competes for the championship. And the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, if you are new, is presented by Atlas Hair. Atlas is an elite line of hairstyling products with cologne fragrances. Check it. Peep this. Look at that. It's good stuff. So get started today at atlashair.com. Use the promo code NASCAR for 20% off your entire order. Atlashair.com. That's ATLASHAIR.com. Use that. You guys will love it. For those watching on YouTube, welcome. Hey, hello, how are you? Smash that like button. Hit the subscribe. It helps our partners over at In Between Media. And let us know who's watching us here. I see the numbers keep creeping up a little bit. I see Kyle Robert there. Good to see you, Kyle. And really excited about some of the conversations we're going to have here tonight. So whether you're listening on X, watching on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, Periscope feed, or watching on YouTube, make sure you interact and let us know how you are. I'm going to kick it off here with the panel here this evening. We got Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast. And Phil, I understand you and I both need a little bit of a pick-me-up, maybe you a little bit more than me right now. So how we doing and how can we help?
Yeah. Just feed me bets. Let me tail. I've been in a dark spot probably since the weekend, then got a little bit brighter, Saturday night, Sunday off day. And now I'm just a sad puppy, man. So, recovering, 24 hours later here and, looking to talk Martinsville. I haven't dropped the pod yet. Been super, busy and depressed, and was able to whip up the stats this afternoon and start looking at some stuff. So we'll be recording after this, but looking forward to using this as a pick-me-up. And there's Worm. He was texting me this weekend. I'm actually got to give him credit because he didn't text me last night after the Diamondbacks won, and I kind of appreciated that. So shout out him, and hopefully they I got no reason to cheer against them. So, good for Diamondbacks fans.
All right. So you're going to start bringing some positive vibes here in a little bit. We'll just start getting you going here. And then, like you said, you haven't dropped your pod yet, but for everybody that's listening, make sure you go and support Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast, and kind of listen to what he has to say. Got a couple episodes left. Mark Harris, aka SKYBOX NASCAR, easy for me to say. You're the host of the Lane Coin Pod, Through the Gears podcast. You do this every week. You do a little bit of everything. You were on a million shows last week. How are you doing? Rumor has it on Twitter you're feeling a little frisky.
I'm always feeling frisky, Derek. But yeah, this week I'm feeling a little extra frisky. I do like the odds board. Like, I know that I've talked about previous races, comp tracks this year where we could potentially use Martinsville. And I'm like, choo-choo train. We saw Logano be a dump truck. Then he finished second. There's just some funky stuff going on at Martinsville. But it's kind of right up my alley. I'm kind of all about that this week. Feeling good. Love the odds. Like some of the matchup that I got tonight, really love. Feeling good. Feeling frisky. I'm on Fords tonight. We'll see how it plans out.
I like that. Well, I wanted to do something, cool before we got into the final race, do another episode, just the three of us here. Next week's episode is going to be a lot of fun planning that process out now. But from everything I have already solidified, it's going to be a fun episode for everybody listening on YouTube, Twitter, everything. So it's going to be a good time and really looking forward to diving deep here with you guys from a betting perspective and how we understand, different things from the Xfinity series, the trucks or the Cup series. I do have a question for you here in rapid fire, Phil, from the truck series. So here's how it's going to kick off. Let's just go over the show outline. Going to go over some rapid fire. I want to hit the guys with about 10 questions, 5 each. Just some rapid fire stuff we've seen from the weekend, how we can lead into this week. Get some track facts and data from Martinsville. Go over the odds board. I want to hear what they have to say from a championship, playoff thoughts, head-to-heads, outrights, finishing positions, and more. It's going to be a lot of fun, so really can't wait. Let's go over the track facts here now. Xfinity 500 is what's happening on Sunday. Stages will look like this: 130 laps in that first stage, 130 laps in that second stage, and then 240 laps, the run to the finish there in that final and third stage. Saturday is going to see the practice and qualifying at 12:35 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you check that out there, and then it goes right into the Xfinity race that afternoon. Some track history and trends. Found these so interesting, and these come from Eric_Race Review on Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow and support him. So check these out. JGR, Penske, HMS have all won 17 of the last 18 Martinsville races, including 4 of the last 6 belong to HMS. So that is a interesting stat when you look at those 3 teams. Front row starters have failed to win at each of the last 20 Martinsville races. Can you believe that? So that's interesting from there as well. We saw in the spring, Kyle Larson, believe it was when I was watching the replay, came back from 19th and won. Ryan Preece scored the pole, was out leading a whole bunch of laps, had some issues then. The last 7 Martinsville races have all been won by a driver starting 5th or worse. So we talk about a couple different things. You're going to hear about the pit stall. You're going to hear about a number of strategies. Going to be very curious to see what happens in that practice and qualifying session for one, and really curious to hear what these guys have to say then as well. So let's dive into the rapid fire segment. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see these kind of scroll across the bottom. I'll read these off here for everybody listening on Twitter Spaces as well. So Phil, I'm going to kick it off with you first. Curious to hear a better finishing position on Sunday, Denny Hamlin or Ryan Blaney?
Man, Blaney's got me believing again, and I hate it. But looking at the stats, I think we need to talk about Hamlin at some point because of how he is just like the shortest favorite we've seen in a long time on a Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm probably going to go Hamlin just because of the track history, but I'm almost like reverse jinxing myself. I'm on Blaney in a number of different ways this week. I'm believing again. I think he can do it. He set himself up, but it just seems like the world is expecting Hamlin to dominate, and so I'll go with Hamlin just for the default setting.
They said that this was his favorite track, or he said that on his podcast, Action Detrimental. And, we saw some of these odds drop last week where Larson was such a short favorite. We're seeing it again here this week. There's a couple 350s out there, 300s as well. Mark, I'm going to kick the next one over to you. Better finish from on Sunday, in your opinion. Is it 2 drivers here that are going to be really interesting, MTJ or William Byron?
I am off of anything and everything MTJ. Don't care about short flat tracks. Don't care about track history. Don't care about it. I thought he was coming back in the playoffs. I'm so out on MTJ. Byron dominated a couple years ago, led like 212 laps or something. I'm all in on Willie B.
Okay, so you don't care that Martin Truex has won 3 of the last 7 races. It doesn't bother you at all. Martin's in his Martinsville last name right there. Martin, something.
If it's now, time out. I'll be in attendance this week, and if it does get rained out, it's not going to rain. But if it does, if it is on Monday, I will flip. Wait. I'm all over Marty Monday.
You're going to be at the track this weekend?
Damn fucking right, baby.
You making a trip up, my guy.
Yeah, mixing a little bit of business, feeling good.
Come up to the north for us a little bit. It's a little crisp, air's actually, Phil, right now in PA, it's like 82 degrees. It's beautiful. But Martinsville might be a little chilly on Sundays. Awesome. So, Phil, I'm going to kick the next one to you. Curious to hear what your thoughts are here. Jesse Love is now going to the 2-car RCR in Xfinity in 2024. Chandler Smith is heading to JGR. What do you make of some of those news elements in the Xfinity series?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes to what we were saying on the truck pod, Derek. Like, as we're getting into the Xfinity stuff, or excuse me, as we're getting into the silly season stuff, there really doesn't feel like there's a ladder to climb anymore, where it's like you got to come into the trucks, you got to then move up to Xfinity and then the Cup. We're seeing Zane jump Xfinity. Now we're seeing Jesse Love essentially jump the truck series. I know he's raced a few races, but not doing a full-time ride. And that's somebody that I think a lot of people have highly touted. So it's good for them, good for RCR. Like you said in our text chain, good for Chevy to try to, kind of rebuild the pipeline. Chandler to JGR, I think that's going to be a dangerous combination. And I'll be looking forward to betting with them. And, next season, I'm not the Xfinity guy, but I'm a Chandler Smith fan, and I'll be tailing our guy, Mike Bachman, because I'd imagine he's going to be calling Chandler's name out a few times.
You hear me on YouTube?
Yes, sir.
What happened there? Something happened. It shows that Phil's mic is muted a little bit, but we'll figure it out. Technical stuff. Phil, I got to put a smile on your face here. You're holding the Ben Rhodes ticket right now, my friend. You got 3 of the 4. Yeah, see, there it is. Break out that smile. You got 3 of the 4 championship contenders in the Truck Series, so you're feeling pretty good, right?
Without a doubt, yeah. Long numbers: 11-1, 12-1, and 15-1. I think for Enfinger. And I'm hoping to do the same thing with Cup. So we're
look at that
in
turning
a
around
positive situation there heading into the championship. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, good. It's turning around for you. Mark, I'm going to kick this one to you. What makes Homestead so great? I know you were there last year.
The video that Barstool put out, I'm sure a bunch of other people, but the video, I saw it on Rubbin' His Racing, the video of Kyle Larson that far away from the wall, that's what makes Homestead great. Throw in the sunsets, the neon colors, the palm trees, the tire wear, all of the above. We saw shenanigans. As Highline said, that race got drunk on Sunday. So, we haven't seen historically shenanigans other than Carl Edwards at Homestead. The last few years we've seen some drawn out, somewhat boring, dominating races. But I thought Sunday was phenomenal. But the tire wear, the skill it takes to run the wall and be fast, the ebbs and flows of drivers saving their tires, long run car versus short run car. We just don't get that. We're not going to have that at Martinsville this week. And I think that's just what makes Homestead so fun to watch from a fan and a gambler's perspective.
It was incredible watching Larson, like you said, in practice. I was there this weekend and just watching him right off the wall. Nobody could even get as close to the wall as he was. And just in practice alone, it was just incredible to watch. So great track, great venue, everything about it. I'm one of those guys that just touts it like crazy. Phil, kicking this over to you. Is there anything more important than the #1 stall this weekend in the Cup Series, Xfinity Series? Anything more important? I just rattled off that nobody's gone from like the top 5, but I'm curious.
No, yeah, I mean that was what gave me pause. Because obviously, if you have the #1 pit stall, then you put the car on the pole, and that hasn't really worked out. But I mean, I think in terms of winning the race, yeah, that comes into play. But if you're battling for a playoff spot, if you're Byron, who's still fighting, 30 points to the good, but still, the #1 pit stall will be huge. Blaney, Truex, Reddick. If you can get that pit stall, that you'd have to imagine is going to pay dividends towards the end of the race if things get kind of wonky there. So I can't think of anything in this quick hitter round that would be more important, but maybe starting not on the front row.
I got one here. I'm gonna up you, and I'm also gonna up Big Perm in the YouTube comments saying the right strategy. That's #1. False. The number one most important thing is Joey Logano being one corner away from getting a lap down and then being the second fastest car for the whole second half of the race by getting lucky on a pit cycle caution. If you get lucky on a pit cycle caution at Martinsville, that is the single greatest thing that could possibly happen to you at Martinsville.
Okay. That feels like it was also a moment in your life that happened.
It's almost like it did happen.
That felt very specific. Okay, I'm going to kick it back to you then, Mark. Give you the floor here. What can we take away from the playoffs and apply this weekend? Is there anything at all?
I think that there's let's go back to Truex. I was on him going to Vegas, I believe, and people were like, why is Truex going to turn it around now? He's been terrible the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I've switched my mojo. I'm off on Truex, and I'm going to carry that through Martinsville this week, and I'm off. I'm turned off. I want nothing to do with him. Whether it's luck, whether it's speed, whether it's this, whether it's that, it doesn't matter. I'm just off on Truex. And, I might be on an island here thinking that way, and I think that there's a little bit of nonsense to think that way, but I'm out on Truex, and the reason why is because he hasn't shown me shit, and he will continue to not show me anything. He's going to be out of the championship 4.
Okay. Phil, kicking this back to you. The Final Four is officially set for the Truck Series. Who should people be laying some coin on? And I have the odds if you need them.
I think I saw Hocevar is actually the favorite to win the championship, which is surprising. I mean, it's a tough question to answer here in a quick hitter situation, because Hyman and Hocevar are going to be really short odds, and so it's not really great bang for your buck. I mean, I'd imagine Enfinger's the longest. I don't have faith in Enfinger to win the race, so I guess the sweet spot would probably be Rhodes at whatever he's at, like 5-1, 4-1. I'd imagine. What number is Rhodes at?
6.5 to 1.
Yeah, 6.5. I mean, look, Hyman and Hocevar are the guys, so the books have it right. It just sucks. If you don't have anything on them yet, it's going to be really tough to beat those guys. But the only saving grace for a plus 650 number is that Rhodes has won the championship there before. So he's got the momentum. And even last year going into that race, Zane ended up winning the title, but Rhodes was the last guy in, I believe, again. And he was really having a down season, finished second. So if my memory serves me right. So this racetrack sets up apparently pretty well for Rhodes. So I think if you don't have anything on anybody at this point, I think plus 650 is okay.
Okay, so maybe take a stab at that number. Mark, I'm going to kick this one over to you, and then you guys have one left after this. The first driver missing the championship 4 is
Martin Truex Jr. Right?
You are a hater. Okay.
I can't. Okay, it sounds like I'm like so fixated on fading him. I'm really not. Like I don't have any money down against him. But I don't think he's going to run well this year or this week. If we look at some stats here on comp tracks, believe it or not, like Truex had some really good runs at New Hampshire, at Richmond too. On comp tracks this year, Zach's got him 13th in overall speed. And at Martinsville, the last 3 races, his best speed ranking is 10th. And that's good for 19th best in the Cup Series. So he hasn't shown me anything the last 8 weeks. And I don't think he's going to continue to show me anything. So Truex is out. And he's also, 16 points out, 15 points out? That's a tough hurdle. That's a tough hurdle. I'm out on Truex. Well,
interesting thing you say that, because Blaney coming in the Homestead was 17 points out. He did a 34-point swing, going up now 17 to these guys. And Hamlin even laid down his podcast and said, we don't have to win. We can point our way in here. If Blaney finishes maybe 10th in the first stage, him and Truex maybe finish 5th, 4th, somewhere in there, and start gaining some points. You're going into that final third stage just straight up. So that could be a really interesting thing to see what happens. Qualifying is going to be key, as we know, especially with those shorter stages, 130 each, 1 and 2. Phil, kicking this over to you. Advancing to the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series Final 4. You have Larson, you have Bell, 2 others.
Oh man, well, I want it to be Blaney. So, and I'm just blown away by what he did and to put himself in that position going into a track that team organization runs well at. So I'm going to go with Blaney
Yep.
and Byron. I mean, I don't see how Byron falls out unless he, has something catastrophic. So it's the chalk, but I think they're going to run the right race. So I'm going to stick with the 4 right now. And I know that that's not going to happen, but it's what I want.
Well, it'd be interesting if it does, because Blaney going to Phoenix, where he was the fastest car last year, and they said it a couple weeks ago. Or maybe it was Chris or somebody said it where I heard this. Penske has not been able to give their full resources to Blaney at any point. With Logano, obviously Cindric wasn't in it. They're able to focus solely on that 12 car, and it's showing with some of the speed. I think I clicked this right. Mark, last question for you. Monday morning headline reads what?
Denny Hamlin. Fuck.
Oh,
Denny.
Hamlin.
So it's a misprint.
It's a misprint.
Hamlin.
It's a misprint. It's probably some. Yeah, never mind.
Denny Hamlin.
It's Denny Hamlin. Still has 0 championships. I don't know. I was trying to think of a play on words, but yeah, Hamlin's out too. To pile on, Phil.
Yeah.
I could see it if Blaney runs well. Then, like I'm saying, like top 5 well, Truex and Hamlin have no shot. They could, one of them could win both stages, and obviously one of them could win the race. If neither of them win the race and Blaney finishes, top 5, top 10, I don't think it's happening. So I'm also going to go chalk. I think it's Byron and Blaney.
Okay, you think it's Byron and Blaney. Okay, so then let's do this. Good conversations there. It's always fun doing those quick hitters, understand a little bit of a feel of what we're thinking and what's kind of being talked about amongst the community in the garage. Let's kick it over now and do the, what everybody's here for. Talk about some bets. Let's look at the head-to-head market first. Phil, I'm going to let you kick this one off. Where have you been able to find a betting opportunity this weekend? Is it with a Toyota or is it with somebody else?
It's with a Toyota. So yeah, I don't really like the head-to-head market this weekend. Back-to-back weekends, right? I didn't really like it. So I think I'll wait a little bit to see what practice and qualifying gives us, because that was successful for me last week, holding back a little bit. But I've got 2 actually. I'm going to talk about on the pod later, but I'll call one of them out here. I like Bubba Wallace, and I like him over Ross Chastain. Kind of fading Chastain, I guess. Minus 115 on Caesars where you get this. So this is something that, looking at their current form, Chastain is just not trustworthy. Like he's runs well at Vegas, and then has problems at Homestead. And if you go back and kind of look through that, it really does seem like that is a bit of a trend recently. And the fact that they're both not in the playoffs anymore, it just seems like Bubba's been more engaged. I don't know if that's just my opinion, but it just, but as far as the statistics are concerned here, he's got a 5th place at this racetrack, and this is a unique track. So I know Mark said track history, throw it out the door for our boy MTJ, but it's a unique track. So you really have to look at Martinsville stats, and that's all he really has. Didn't really back up the Hail Melon that well earlier in the spring. 13th place finish for him there. And I could see, this is again another non-statistical thing, but I feel like they're gonna be talking about the Hail Melon a bunch. And I could just see him wrecking, just because they're going to be bringing it up so much. But looking at Bubba Wallace, 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s, and 7 for 10, finishing in the top 20 in 10 races here. This is something a little bit more stable, right? If he can finish in the top 20 in head-to-head matchups, whereas this other guy he's going up against, Ross Chastain, doesn't really have that type of resume here. In the spring, Wallace was much faster. He was 11th in total speed compared to 20th for Ross. And on the 5 short tracks this season, I know that some people might not consider that something, but it's another metric to look at. Wallace's 13.0 average finish. He's got 4 top 15s. Ross has 2 top 20s. A 3rd place finish, and the rest just all kind of garbage here. Wallace is 4-1 this year on short track. So head-to-head against Ross. I'm taking Bubba. In a market that seems overly crowded and very razor thin, this to me seems like an opportunity here.
Okay, so all right, so you're looking at Bubba right there, taking him over Chastain. How about you, Mark? What are you looking at in a head-to-head matchup?
Yeah. So before I get into the matchup, Phil, I am looking at track history. I'm looking at the last 3 races, and Truex hadn't done shit. So yes, before that, he's been lights out. He's been unbelievable. But I'm using a combination of the last 3 Martinsville races, all of them in the next gen car, as well as the 5 comp tracks, one including Martinsville, as well as Richmond, Phoenix, and New Hampshire. But I'm going Joey Logano minus 114 over Kyle Busch on Bet Rivers. Now, we all remember Joe Gibbs giving Kyle Busch an absolute shitbox. And when I say shitbox, I don't mean the good kind like we have on Land Coin. Okay. I mean the shitbox that you give a guy who's leaving your team with nothing better than a BJ McLeod setup who passed Kyle Busch on green flag speed 5 laps down a couple years ago. So we all remember that, but there's much more to this story here. The last 3 Martinsville races, Joey Logano is 5th in NLD speed. So that's just the 3 Martinsville races averaged together. NLD speed. Logano's 5th. Kyle Busch, 28th. Logano had a dump truck. I just talked about it earlier in the spring. He got a caution. He got lucky. He ended up finishing 2nd. I get it. Okay, yada, yada. Power rankings, Highline power rankings. We're not modeling it anymore. We're power rankings it. Logano 10th, Kyle Busch 21st. Average finish on those 5 comp tracks this year. Joseph Logano, 1st in the Cup Series. Kyle Busch 18th. Average running position on comp tracks this year. Logano 15th, Kyle Busch 24th. So while Joey has definitely finished better than Kyle Busch, he's 4-1 across those comp tracks. Kyle Busch has Joey Logano has finished better than he's run, but Kyle Busch has done neither. And frankly, absolutely nothing to speak of. He had one good run at Richmond 2 a couple months ago. I also wanted to look back at what Reddick did last year in the 8 car. He had NLD speeds of 26th and 23rd. Now the second one, he got a DNF. He was sick, headache, concussion, yada, yada, whatever. But I think Joey Logano is fast. I think the Fords are fast this weekend. And I think Kyle Busch is going to be that 15th, 20th place car that we've seen him periodically throughout the year. And I do want to asterisk mark this a smidge. I do kind of buy into this whole Penske throwing everything at Blaney and Logano kind of getting the leftovers. I don't love that, but I have laid money on this. So at minus 114, I don't mind fading Kyle Busch this week.
Okay. Kyle Busch is actually a guy that I was going to talk about fading as well. I really like it. You can find it on Caesars. You can find Chase Elliott minus 110 versus Kyle Busch, kind of what you're saying. Hendrick, when it comes to this type of race, this track they own, right? And I just read off about JGR, about Penske as well, and HMS. And this is an event where they get up for it. Chase is still in the Owners' Championship. He's the only driver that I would bet on outside and put any type of who could win outside the playoff guys, because he's competing for a championship in the Owners' points. He's the only guy I would lay any sort of coin on. I really like that head-to-head, kind of what you were saying there about Kyle. Kyle's been very hit or miss, and as of late, started off the season hot, but as of late. So I like HMS there in Chase Elliott versus Kyle Busch. So that's kind of my opinion I want to throw in there. Let's look at the finishing position props now. Mark, I'm going to kick it over to you. Everybody listening on YouTube, you'll see everything scrolling on the bottom. You can see what the guys are on and what market and what book, I should say, they are betting it from. So we'll try to keep those updated for those that are listening on Twitter Spaces. But if you're watching right now live on YouTube, you're able to see that. Phil, actually, before I get to Mark, you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in about the point about that we keep trying to make about Blaney and Logano here. I mean, you look at last week. Logano had better stats historically than Blaney at Homestead, and they both were able to eat. You know what I mean? And it clearly showed with Blaney. Ends up finishing 2nd, a great race, a lot of points. Logano still finished top 10. So I think I don't think it necessarily has to do with like resources necessarily, but I think it's just like organization orders, like, hey, show us your notes. Like Logano's phenomenal. He just read off all the stats. That's why I wanted to talk about it right now. He's phenomenal here. So I think it's just like, hey, come over here to our little cubicle and let's take a look at what we can show you to be better. And Blaney's no slouch here. So I think it's just going to put them over the edge, and they can both be successful. It's not just like one or the other, because last week showed that. So that's all I just wanted to say.
Yeah, the one thing with that about last week, and I hated it because I had Bowman over Logano, which obviously didn't hit because of Larson running into the tire barrier, which screwed everything up. And I'm curious, do you know where Logano was coming in? Like, how did that obviously ruined Bowman, but like, how did that work in the favor of them for Logano? Do you know at all? It's okay if you don't, but I'm just throwing that out there. We looked at last week.
No, I don't. I mean,
Okay.
I was in the same boat where I had Harvick over Logano, and I ended up having to root against that, by 2 spots at the end of the race. But so no, I don't know the answer to your question.
Okay.
But yeah, just it's
it.
This is a thing, and just while Mark was talking about Logano's resume, I think it was just worth calling out.
Yeah, I think it is as well. And I appreciate you doing that. Looking at finishing positions, Mark, I'm going to kick it over to you, let you open up the topic of conversation here. Where are we going when it comes to finishing positions, top 5s, 3s, 10s? What'd you find?
We're going back to old reliable, baby. We're going top 10, bet 365, even money. I love my even money top 10s. Kevin, the closer, Harvick, all right? And he's not out of it just yet. We got 2 more races. Mr. Hashtag forever. All right. Forever in our hearts. Love you, big boy. That was really weird. We got 2 more races. All right. I'm weird, man.
Love you, big boy.
I'm a weird guy. I should have said big guy, but yeah, whatever. He's had pretty decent speed the last 3 Martinsville races in the next gen car, as well as comp tracks this year. So I'm going to spit out a bunch of numbers here and tell you why I'm taking him at the end. So comp tracks this year, the 5 comp tracks, he's 3rd in NLD speed. Last 3 Martinsville races, he's 8th in speed, 6th in Highlines power rankings, 4th in average finish, and 3rd in average running position on comp tracks this year. And if we want to talk about finishes over the last couple of years at Martinsville, they're terrible. 20th, 16th, and 14th. Not great over the last 3 races. But his running position, he won a stage, I think, in the spring. I can't remember if it was in the spring or last fall. But he's got great...
It was in the spring. It was his first stage win since 2020.
Wow, that is a wild number. He's run very, very well at short flats across the board at Martinsville. He just doesn't have the finishes. And I think the books are like, wow, he finished 20th in the spring, like 16. He hadn't had a top 10 in 3 years. Well, he's been running much, much better than that. So Bet365 has given us even money for a top 10. Kevin Harvick, he's got 2 races. He's the top 10 king at Phoenix. So I know that has no merit this week, but I do love Kevin Harvick top 10. He's a top 10 freaking machine, like everywhere we go. So even money, Bet365.
Okay, even money there. You love yourself a little Kevin Harvick again. We love you, big dog. And then how about you, Phil? Looking at the finishing position props, where are we headed?
Yeah, tough to follow that eulogy. So I'm going with Brad Keselowski, and I typically hate betting top 5s, but I wanted them top 10 and didn't get a number that I really liked. So the deciding factor for me here, because I'm going back like 10 races for Martinsville, coming here twice a year. So it's only 5 years back. And I saw that he's got a win, 7 top 5s and 7 top 10s in that time span. I was like, damn, that's pretty good. He's 4th in average finish. Like, that's pretty legit. When we have races like this, I like to see who performs better than their average in the playoff race. You know what I mean? Or like in the night race or whatever the, different factor is. And Brad Keselowski, for whatever reason, now take it with a grain of salt. Some of this was with Penske, but the last 5 playoff races at Martinsville in the fall, I don't know if it's weather or what, 5 for 5 finishing in the top 5. Average finish of 3.8. Like, that's crazy. Wow. And last year, right? Like last year when he was kind of having a bad year with RFK, they were starting to turn it around a little bit. He finished 4th. So, this is something that just kind of caught my attention and was like, damn, all right, let me take a look. 8th in average finish on the short flats this year. and win the race, has him 10th in his model. I think that's, pretty legit for considering, everybody else battling in the playoffs. I just don't love the number. The best I saw this afternoon was like plus 125 on DraftKings. I'm hoping to see a better number for that as the weekend gets a little closer. So I'm just keeping my eye on it right now. And then whenever I see a number that I really like, I'll hit that one. But started looking for top 10s. It was way too short for me. And then I saw that 100% hit rate in the playoff race. Like, damn, he's figured something out in this fall weather. So Brad Keselowski, top 5.
Okay, Brad, top 5. Interesting statistics that you threw out there about him as well. And Brad said it a year ago. They are strong at short tracks. We saw it with Buescher at Richmond when he scored the win there, and that team's been getting stronger and stronger. Obviously, they had a poor race. They were due for a bad race last week, and that's when it kind of bit them in the rear. Looking at 2 top 10s for me, go back to the Welt, Chase Elliott. This dude just hits top 10s after top 10 here, which is just phenomenal to see. I mean, you go back and you look at, first off, I should say what his average position here the last 7 is 7.7, but he's finished 10th, 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 16th, 2nd, 1st, 5th, and it's like amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of the last 11, he's finished top 10, which is great. And then if you want a little bit more value, his teammate, Alex Bowman, plus 175 right now on Caesars. You can find him there as well. Only Matt DiBenedetto has finished a little bit better than him with a 11-point average finish over the last 4. Well, Matt only ran 4 races of the last 7 just because he wasn't in a cup car. But over the last 6 for Bowman, he's finished 11.7 and has just 3 top 10s. So he's almost a 50% hit rate, plus 175. Good number I found on him. Phil, I'm going to kick it over to you. When we're looking at an outright price, who's a guy that caught your eye? What's a number that caught your eye as well?
You're going to think that I'm trolling, but I'm calling out Truex 10-1. Mark doesn't like it. Mark doesn't like it. This is the thought process here. You're looking at Hamlin, who is plus 275. Like, that is craziness. Okay. And I'm looking at a guy in his camp with much like better statistics than Hamlin. So like I fully appreciate, like last week I was like, you know what, this dude, I can't get behind him. But then just like digging into the stuff today, the fact that we saw Blaney recover from a 17-point deficit, put himself in the green. Now that's what Truex is, like last gasp effort. This couldn't be a better racetrack for him to be in this spot. So when you're looking at his teammate plus 275 number, you got a guy 10-1. We have to just talk about the numbers. I mean, you kind of threw some of this stuff out here, but we joke around. They basically named the track after him recently. 10 races, 3 wins, 6 top 5, 7 top 10s. He's 3rd in average finish, 3rd in driver rating, finished 3rd in the spring. Now, Mark mentioned how he was slow, right? Bad total speed. Some guys, when we go to tracks, just know how to get around and know how to be in the right spot, right time, whatever you want to call it. He finished 3rd. So that bad speed ranking number, which I think he was 11th, ends up finishing 3rd. That's something to write home about, if you're asking me. And he was able to start top 5. So I don't know what happened there, like to start the race to not be as fast as that. But then you're looking at in the last 5 playoff races, 8.2 average finish. He finished 3rd last year. He's 3 for 5 finishing the top. Oh, excuse me. I'm reading off somebody else's stuff here. Let me take a quick reset here. But I was just shocked to see this season that, on the short flats, he was 3rd in average finish this season as well. 1 win, 3 top 10s, all in a row, by the way, of the, most recent short flats. So 5th in the win the race model. And here's something that I'm an idiot, because I've been using the fantasy racing cheat sheet website for a really long time. They got the AccuPredictor now, and he has a thing where it allows you to see what he considers like the fair value for different markets. His fair value for Truex is plus 650. I'm getting him 10-1. So it's just like, man, I understand Mark's points. Cold as ice. I get it. But when you're looking at like his teammates, I don't know what to make of Bell this week. He just win hangover. He's in the championship. Okay. Hamlin,
Yep.
Everyone in the world apparently thinks he's going to win the race. I can't touch that number. So I'll go 10-1. Why the hell not? And go with the guy's pretty good resume.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I should have had it popped up where he's been qualifying. I got out of that page just out of curiosity where some of his qualifying efforts are. He started 5th, like you said.
I got it here.
In the next gen era, he started 20th in April 22. He started 27th of October of 22, and then 5th, obviously, here April of the spring here. So that'll be interesting to see how those two really duke it out. The 19 team really has to have something. They have to pull a rabbit almost out of their hat. I understand they can point their way in, but just from a momentum standpoint, they don't have anything to go off of. This is like, what's the rallying cry for them when your competitor, your teammate is also competing for the same real estate as well. So price point there, like you said, 10-1. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing about it is like, to Mark's point, like this crew chief driver relationship is just like,
it's wild,
fractured. I mean, it's bad. So it's almost like a sure thing that they're not going to be together next year unless they do pull a rabbit out of their hat and they win the race.
Are you breaking news? You breaking news for us?
No, but I mean, what odds would you give that? I think that's got to be like minus 250, right? If they don't make the championship, they're not together next year. Like that's why would you be? Neither here nor there. We can't bet on it, so
I love that.
We can't talk about it.
I'm gonna look forward to seeing if anything develops there from that front. Mark, how about you? What have you found for us in a outright market? We know it's not any of the Toyotas, so who's it gonna be?
I mean, Phil laid out some good points. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Poor Mark. He's just shitting all over TRD.
Oh, poor me.
Watching. Yeah, because you're going to be there on Sunday and you're going to be watching the Toyotas in like a conveyor belt just running around. And you're going to be like, why was I off on these guys? I thought Ford was going to win here. I thought Priest was going to do well.
No, okay, wrong. First of all, but I was just scrolling through the spring speed rankings. Priest, Suarez, Almirola, Briscoe, top 4. How about that? Wow. Yeah. No, it's going to be a conveyor belt regardless. I'm like telling my dad how cool Martinsville is, and we're just going to get there and it's going to be a conveyor belt. Unless it is going to be a little warmer and we do have a little bit of a new tire coming. So there is some hope. I'm not. Go ahead.
Over under. How many hot dogs you think you're gonna eat? Phil, what do you think? I say for this guy, he's bigger than most.
Well, I got to give you a disclaimer. Rory's cooking us porterhouses before the race.
Whoa.
So
I still put the number at 4.5.
That's a good guess. I'm gonna put the over under at 2.5 because I'm probably gonna eat 3.
Okay.
Gotta do 3. Right. One for each stage, right?
I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm going to be very disappointed if Truex goes out there and leads 250 laps and it's a boring ass race. I lose all my money. I'm like pissed. My dad's like, "Why are you so mad?" I'm like, "I don't know, Dad." Anyway, no, I'm going Byron here. I'm going Byron 8-1. I obviously Hamlin just jumps off the page in a lot of different areas. But like Phil laid out, I'm seeing even a 3.5-1 on Bet Rivers. I still don't want any part of it. It's the same conversation we had with Larson last week. I sat here in this seat and I said I want no part of Larson until after practice and qualifying. He did exactly what we thought he was going to do in practice and qualifying, and his number moved slightly. Okay, fine. I took the lower number. If Denny Hamlin is that guy in practice and qualifying, fine. I will take the 250 or the 275, right? But as of right now, I'm out on that, and I'm going Willie B 8-1, and it's not sexy, but it's just the pre-practice and qualifying game that I'm trying to play here. I think it's a reasonable number. And the first race at Martinsville, the next gen car, a couple years ago, he dominated, led 212 laps, won the race. On comp tracks this year, he's been really fast as the naked eye. He's just been up there on short flats. He's 5th. When it comes to NLD speed, with a first place at Richmond 1, where he got spun from the lead. He should have won. Thanks, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain. And then he was 2nd at Phoenix, where he won. He shouldn't have won that race, but he did win the race. He was 6th in average running position this year on comp tracks, and he's only finished outside of the top 7 once in the last 5 Martinsville races. So there's your little track history for you there, Phil. The points thing is kind of irrelevant. I know we haven't talked about it this week, but I feel like Byron, I feel like he's in a really good spot, right? He doesn't have to really worry like Blaney or the rest of the guys down do. And I don't know why I brought that up, to be honest with you. I don't have it written down in my notes, but I felt the need apparently to talk about that. But I do think that William Byron now, while his short flat track speed was at the beginning of the year and is not now, I do like the track history. That's what kind of brought me back into Willie B 8-1. I don't want any part of Larson. While he could go out and win the race, none of us would be shocked. I think you're going to see some Larson tickets out there, 7-1, 7.5-1, whatever he's at, 6-1. But I'm laying my money on William Byron. I have laid money down. I have put actual dollars down on William Byron 8-1, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, if Byron goes out there and conveyor belt wins 212 laps again, I'm going to be the most fired up person there. My dad's going to be like, "Why are you fired up?" Be like, "Dad, don't worry about it. William Byron is him." So anyway, 8-1, William Byron.
Look at that. Be curious to hear if Pops is dropping any plays going into Sunday morning himself. So that'll be interesting to hear if anything develops there. Yes, the thing with Byron is this, that team just hasn't seen really any adversity this year. Like, how do they react with when the going maybe doesn't get tough, or when the going gets tough, I should say. This is a track, we saw it in the spring, like you were alluding to, where he got the win. I was at that race at the very beginning of it. It was the coldest race I've ever been to, and nobody could pass. Obviously, there's nothing happening. Nobody's passing anybody. Not that this short track package lends to much passing as it is. So it'll be interesting to see, that number. I think what you're doing right now, Mark, you're getting that number at a good price. I think he qualifies well. We know HMS, like we said, they just know how to get it done. They know how to kind of diamond it in. I know with this downshifting element of the car, where if you make a mistake or you need to catch up, everybody can just downshift, gain it right back up. Kind of takes that element out of it. But go ahead.
Yeah, just one more thing. I forgot to rattle off his comp track starting positions. No worse than 8th this year. 3rd at Phoenix, 3rd at Richmond, 8th at Martinsville, 7th New Hampshire, 6th at Richmond too. So yeah, I think he's going to start up front, and I think most of can I ask a question? Do you guys think this tire or the temperature is going to mean anything for us this week, or are we conveyor belt?
What's the temperature?
I think green flag is like 80, like right at 80, and then it's going to drop from there.
So new tire, you said, right? I don't know
new tire
with that temperature, right? Cooler temperatures, less tire wear. This would be an interesting element where we could see maybe a little bit more, some tire wear, but definitely being able to kind of tire being laid down. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah,
82.
That's I'm gonna go with not really playing a huge factor into our discussion here tonight, but not going to change the race. I do think it's going to end up being actually it'll be a segue into my next bet.
Perfect.
Conveyor belt type deal.
Why don't we run right into that?
Yeah, let's do that. So I'm sorry if you're going to go to Mark first, but I've been hitting on these like weird bets. And last week I was looking for the same. I was trying to run it back this week. Smashed the over in cars finishing on the lead lap last week. We talked about it. I did the math. I set the line at 22.5, and there was 23 cars in the lead lap. So we were getting extra couple cars there when it was originally 20.5. I was looking for that again. Didn't get it. I'm going to definitely be keeping my eyes peeled. But this week saw another wonky little bet that I wanted to sink my teeth into, and it's margin of victory. It's crazy. Like they're allowing you to bet increments of like tenths. And I thought that was just like crazy. Cause I started digging in.
Make sure you say the book.
Caesars.
Yep.
So I was looking at the margin of victory at Martinsville, and it was like, 8 tenths and 3 tenths, 4 tenths, but they're letting you go like 100,000s. Like the increments are too small, really small. So it's like, Jesus Christ, like you have to have just a death wish to throw this bet in until you get to plus 450 for 3 seconds to 10 seconds. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I could see that. What we saw in the spring was 4.1. In the last 7 races, we've had a 6.5, a 4.7, 1.9. Obviously that's not hitting, but it's getting there. So I'm kind of rooting for that, running away from it, and no cautions. Just hey, if it's William Byron, and I like the William Byron pick, by the way, Mark. I don't see how you can argue against that. So yeah, run away with it and win by more than 3 seconds, and we'll hit for plus 450.
Yeah, that was definitely seeing that come across this afternoon, seeing that bet. It was like, well, okay, I see what you're doing there.
Emoji.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, like you said, you find some of these more obscure bets that could lend opportunity, and depending how it all plays out, if we're going to see drama, that's probably not going to hit. But if we're going to see some, run into the green, last maybe 30, 40 laps, you never know. That could happen. Like you said, here in the spring, it was a 4.1 second lead by Larson that got the victory, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. How about you, Mark?
Hold on. Just Chris's comment right here, right?
Yeah.
Goodyear softer than baby shit when it comes to introducing fall off. Because that is part of it.
Plays into it.
Do you really think that they're going to come and completely change the game to where the tire is going to be that different in the race to set the championship for? No, they're scared, like he's saying. So yeah, I'll take 3 seconds and we'll cheer for. And if you do get the opposite of that, then it's probably a pretty damn good race and you're happy either way. So you're buying your happiness with this one.
You're going to be pacing around oh, no caution. Stay green. You're going to be saying stay green, stay green.
Shout out. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Mark, how about you? What'd you find for us?
Yeah, I got one, but I also want to say that I do think that 3 seconds to 10 seconds is absolutely the play here, but you have got to take the 0.001 to 0.15, whatever that's 1,000th to a 10th and a half at 6-1. You have to take the barn burner finish when I don't know if we've ever had the ability to wager on this before. I'm sure Worm might be able to throw this in here, but we have got to do the photo finish 6-1. I mean, it has to be laid. So anyway, I'm going Ryan Blaney, top 5, 2-1. Shout out my main man Roars for shooting me this play. I don't like it. I love it. And everything is screaming Blaney here. All right. He's 7th in Highline's power rankings. He's 2 for 3 in the last 3 races at Martinsville, finishing in the top 5. He's 3rd in NLD speed across those 3 races. He's 7th this year. That could have been better after his New Hampshire debacle. I think he had the best car that day. And, he's got a chance we talked about it earlier. He's got a chance to make it to the championship race with a top 5 run. I think that's all he's aiming to do. I think if Ryan Blaney finishes in the top 5, the odds are in his favor, barring a Hamlin or Truex victory. But I've given 4 bets out tonight. 3 of them are on Fords, and no one's named Almirola, Priest, or Briscoe, which I'm very proud of myself. But I think Blaney's going to be fast this week, and I think what Phil said, I was thinking it, I just couldn't put it into words, and I was saying it a different way. But the sharing of notes, not necessarily the resources, not the money, not this, not the equipment, not that, but the ability for Joey Logano to share the information with Ryan Blaney. So I have a bet on both of them this week. I think they're both going to be fast, and I think Ryan Blaney start well, run well, finish well, top 5, 2-1.
I got burnt by Blaney pretty bad in 2021 when the books released a price on him finish top 10, which was wrong. And I went all in on it. And he finished 11th. He had previously, since 2019, he had finished top 5 every race. And then had one finish outside the top 10, which was an 11th. And wouldn't you know, I bet on him that race. So that was a heartbreaker. So hopefully for your guys' sake, Phil, for your wallet with the championship, and Mark, with some of the things that you've been pointing out. You said Rory. I think Rory accidentally texted you Ryan Blaney. I think he meant to text you Kyle Larson, but texted you Ryan Blaney regardless. So that'll conclude then some of those conversations there as we look at some of those different markets. Curious to hear anybody listening on YouTube. If you have anything for us, put it in the comments. We'll get it read. We're going to get out of here at the top of the hour. But Mark or Phil, anything else that we didn't get to touch on, a driver, any market specific that, hey, this was something that you thought about during the show at all? If not, we'll get out of here. But curious to hear anything that we missed. Go ahead, Phil.
I'll just throw this out there. I mean, I'm getting ready to record my pod in a little bit here, and I've got some more obscure bets that are
Love it.
available. Not going to talk about them right now, but
Okay.
Mark,
Nice tease.
I want to, I want to ask Mark because they're kind of loosely related to the conversation that he just brought up around Almirola, Briscoe, Priest. Like we're seeing those names because they were fast in the springtime. Are you just like saying you're not taking them at all? Like, do you see any situation where, if someone would say to you like, hey, I'm going to take a flyer on Almirola top 10, like what are your overall thoughts on those guys? Completely discounting them in this race or what?
Well, I don't think you can. No, I'm not completely discounting him. I think Zach got double A at 35-1 opener, and he has since texted me and said that he doesn't like to play anymore. But that was all because of the tire news, and he just kind of turned off about this weekend. But if you look at the last 3 races at Martinsville, Almirola is second in speed ranking, so you can't shy away from that. Briscoe is 4th in speed ranking at Martinsville, which is you talked about it earlier, dump truck versus dump truck, but Briscoe and Almirola both run very well here. So, and also Priest last 3 Martinsville races, a 10th, and an 8th. That's NLD speed. So while I made fun of them for having the first, third, and 4th speed rankings in the spring, they actually run pretty well here over the last few years in the next gen car. So if you can find a top 10 on a Priest or a Briscoe that's more than like 2-1, I think that's a play. Absolutely. Okay. If I had to rank them, it'd go Almirola, Briscoe, Priest. I still want nothing to do with Priest. So Almirola, Briscoe.
So at the risk of, I know we want to get out of here, and I appreciate that, Nuke. At the risk of pushing us over 9 o'clock, quick hitter for you, Mark. Yeah. And you, Derek. Penske versus Stewart-Haas Racing. They have team match bets. Penske's the underdog, minus 105. We talked about why they're so good here, the two of them. So it's just a little wonky, with these losers who are sort of good at this racetrack for Stewart-Haas Racing. I'm very tempted to take minus 105 for Penske and say, hey, look, Joey and Ryan, like, bring it home, baby.
The only thing... Okay, so I'm more worried about that this week because of the threat of the other 3 that are not named Kevin Harvick. Now, explain this bet to me. Is it just the top finishing Penske versus the top finishing Stewart-Haas?
Yes.
That is a fun bet, and I am all about Penske here. But I am a little scared because if there is one track on this NASCAR schedule that Stewart-Haas has a chance outside of super speedways, it's Martinsville. So that particular matchup, I'm not putting money down on it. I'm on Penske if you had a gun to my head, but that is a frisky bet on Caesar's Palace.
I'm gonna join you, Phil. I'm gonna lay some coin on that. That'll be on my card.
All right.
The minus 105 Penske. I mean, I think Stewart-Haas can't get out of their own way, and give me the 2-on-4. Really, it's like a 2-on-1 fast break with Logano and Blaney versus Harvick. I don't think the other 3 guys can even finish. I mean, Almirola is getting that car ready for Gregson next year. Priest is just hoping to make it to 2024. Who's the other guy? Who's the other car there? Priest? Briscoe. Yeah, that's right. Briscoe, he'll be lapped after 34 laps. And then Harvick is, going to be hoping that he's a top 10. So give me those guys. Give me
take that and I'll put it right into the recording. Yeah. Perfect.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm in on that. Definitely. Anything else, boys? No,
I'm looking forward to
ready to rock.
Man.
Yeah. Ready to rock, baby.
So, Mark, you're going to be at the track this weekend. Anybody listening, make sure you go say hello. Reach out to Mark. Hit him with a DM. Shoot him a message on Twitter. Let him know that you're going to be there as well. Really cool. Anything else you want to share? You got some shows this week. When can the people expect to hear everything you're dropping?
Yeah, we're dropping Laying Coin tonight with Greg Mathern. He's kind of bebops all around the industry. He's like with Win the Race and everybody else too. Smart cat, lawyer by trade. Yeah. I will be in Martinsville Sunday morning, and I will be out of Martinsville by Sunday night. So a quick little day trip coming up from Wilmington, North Carolina. But I will be tailgating Sunday morning from about 9 o'clock till green flag. And come see us. Me and Roy's cooking porterhouses, drinking cold beers, and you'll get to see my identical twin that's just 30 years older than me. That would be my father. So there you go.
Phil, why don't we take a trip down? Maybe we need to, let the wife and
Yeah.
kids at
How
home.
long's the drive?
I've
I
actually
mean,
Googled it a million times. It's a million hours away. It's like 12 hours away.
Oh no.
what?
Yeah,
I'm
it's long as
closer
shit.
than you are.
Not a chance. Well, you probably Googled it at 4 p.m. on like a Friday, but like
That's true.
it's not 12. It's I think it's 4.5. If I had to
Get the
guess.
okay, hold on.
Could be 6. Phil, go ahead.
I am also looking it up right now.
It's somewhere between 4.5 and 6. That's my range. Minus 110 to that pricing and that time frame. Survey says
6:45.
okay.
So
yeah,
I was way off, but yeah, I was probably thinking of a different
way off. All right, so 6 hours, 45 minutes. Interesting, a little longer than I thought. How about you, Phil? You said you're dropping the pod here tonight, tomorrow morning. People can expect that. What else you got for the people as you get ready for the weekend?
Yeah, just a little bit of a delayed podcast for reasons that we mentioned earlier, but happy that we have Martinsville. This is going to be a fun race, and no truck race this week. So I'm gonna be prepping a little early for trucks next week. Next week's going to be an absolute blur. Halloween on Tuesday night, and then just like everything. Well, my daughter's Ariel, my son is Flounder, so I think I'm the.
Are you the crab?
No, I'm like the dude with the dad.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? The Triton or whatever.
I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, and then just gonna be a whirlwind, man. So it's a shame season's coming to an end, but looking to get things squared away this weekend and going to Phoenix, sitting pretty.
Yeah, the vibes are going to turn around for you, Phil. I believe that. So good show here tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Seth said of In Between Media on the YouTube, make sure you subscribe, help them out. It really helps everything that they're doing on that side. They're doing so much content, lifestyle, football, basketball just started. They got everything, golf. So you name it, NASCAR. They do the back road on Thursday. So make sure you support them and follow, Phil and Mark on Twitter. Make sure you follow their shows, support them. They do so much. And like they said, we have one show now left. One show in 2023 already. We might do another show throughout, but we have one show guaranteed right now. And so that'll be a bummer. But everybody enjoy everything that's happening this week at Martinsville. Again, if you're in town, make sure you say hi to Mark. And we'll catch you here next week for a fun-filled Phoenix Championship episode. And thanks again. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thanks for listening.
Hello, Playboys.